Good morning. It is 9:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. Show's brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We got an unbelievable show for you today. Very excited to be back with you guys after having to take off Friday. Shout out to Dan, shout out to Joan for stepping in my absence. Really appreciate those guys filling the gap. I was a bit under the weather, hit a wall on Thursday, and then had to take Friday off. But we're back, and we're excited to be back. Mason Fleming is producing. We got Joan Jones in the newsroom. And the President of Peace has struck again. If you're watching us on YouTube, hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. We got a lot to get to. Early morning, Donald Trump addressing Israel. Unbelievable. Just an unbelievable moment. What we were able to witness this morning. I listened on my way in, much like you did, to Dan Mandis, and credit to him for carrying that entire speech live. It was truly historic. What we're witnessing is something that they said couldn't be done. Never forget, when Donald Trump won in 2016, they said, this guy's going to start World War III. This guy's a loose cannon. This guy is a danger to America. This guy's a danger to the world. And yet here we are in 2025 with a peace deal that nobody said was ever going to be possible. It's unbelievable. Pretty soon we're going to have Trump arriving in Egypt for the Gaza summit. We're going to carry that as best we can as it goes live. Phone lines are open for you guys as well. I think one of the best parts about this show is the audience. And if you have any instant reaction on what we witnessed this morning, I'd love to talk to you about it. 615-737-9986. 615-737-9986. You can text in. You can call in. I'm happy to be back. On Friday, I was going to have my friend Jonathan Cho join the show. It was in the aftermath of the Antifa roundtable where, excuse me, where he was a member of, and he addressed the homeless industrial complex and what that is doing to actually help Antifa. And he is going to be joining the show today at 10:35. And I'm really excited about that interview. It's definitely going to be something that you're not going to want to miss. So we'll take a break from the obviously the biggest story of the day, which is the Israel Palestine peace deal, and we'll talk to Jonathan Cho at 10:35. We're looking forward to that. Also, I just want to wish everybody a happy Columbus Day. Columbus Day is back on the menu here in the year 2025, and we're grateful for it. But let's begin. Let's begin. Some of the highlights from this morning, and I'm going to need video on this, RJ, who is training, and we're going to need some of this video and some audio. So this is Donald Trump this morning talking about, this wasn't actually this morning. Excuse me. Let me take a step back. This was Donald Trump on the campaign trail. And Donald Trump on the campaign trail made this promise that we're seeing come to realization today. This was the promise that was made on the campaign trail.
Tonight, we send our love to every innocent soul who remains in Hamas captivity. We just are not going to stand for it. We're not going to take it. We're not going to take it any longer. We pray that through the darkness they know that we have not forgotten them, that we have not forsaken them. We will never forsake them, and we will never abandon them. And with God's help, they will come safely home, and it will be soon. We hope it will be very soon. Tonight.
That was the promise on the campaign trail. And today, through Donald Trump and through the grace of God, we have that peace deal coming to fruition. This was Donald Trump earlier this morning in Israel, talking about really giving the glory to God here.
The God who once dwelled among his people in this city still calls us, in the words of Scripture, turn from evil and do good, to seek peace and pursue it. So he still whispers truth into the hills and knolls and valleys of his magnificent creation, and he still writes hope into the hearts of his children all over the world.
And there's a lot of hope today. There's a lot of hope this morning because of President Trump and because of the grace of the Almighty. But this has been a long experience. It's been a long time coming. Donald Trump addressing that as well.
Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, esteemed members of the Knesset and cherished citizens of Israel, we gather on a day of profound joy, of soaring hope, of renewed faith, and above all, a day to give our deepest thanks to the Almighty God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob.
Amen.
After 2 harrowing years in darkness and captivity, 20 courageous hostages are returning to the glorious embrace of their families, and it is glorious. 28 more precious loved ones are coming home at last to rest in this sacred soil for all of time. And after so many years of unceasing war and endless danger, today the skies are calm, the guns are silent, the sirens are still, and the sun rises on a holy land that is finally at peace, a land and a region that will live, God willing, in peace for all eternity.
And as he talks about the hostages, we're seeing videos coming out of them reuniting with family, the smiles, the embrace. It's truly touching, and it's been a long time coming. And I don't know if we would have this moment without President Trump and without God making this, willing this into fruition. But it's truly unbelievable. 615-737-9986, your instant reaction. Let's go to Brian. What's up, Brian? How you doing, man?
Hey, brother. What is the Jewish word for peace? Shalom?
Yeah, I believe so.
Well, shalom to you this morning. I'm glad you're back, and I'm glad that God's restored your health.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate you.
You mean a lot to me and my family. I would say that I don't trust that this is going to turn out. I hope I'm wrong. I just don't trust Hamas. I don't trust Iran. I don't trust them when they sign on the bottom on the dotted line. I don't care what they do. Now, is there going to be some hell to pay if they don't? I hope so. I was never for stopping the bombing of Gaza because they picked this fight, and they picked the wrong country, that little bitty country over there called Israel. Those guys don't give up. You know how we felt on 9/11? Never forget. My son's a Marine. When we drove on to Paris Island to see him graduate, there are signs, or were, and I'm sure they're still there. This was a while ago. It's a never forget. And I know God is in his seat and Jesus is by his side, and we're supposed to forgive and move on. But I don't trust these guys.
I understand where that's coming from, and I feel like you're going to share an opinion with a lot of this audience today. I don't think that you're alone in not trusting, right? But I guess I would ask, doesn't this feel different than the last times we've had ceasefire deals with the other countries coming in? Doesn't it feel like the weight of the moment that something has shifted?
Does. And you know why? Because of President Trump and his leadership team. I love that he gave all that credit in his speech, because those guys, they don't get to see their families during this time. They're up at all hours of the night like Trump is. They have the energy that God gives them every day, and I know they're prayerful people. I know Hegseth, I think it's been told that he lives in Goulitsville. That's not far from where I live. And I count him as a plus. And I know you've been down on Bondi and some of the others, but I've recently heard you brag on them because of the toughness that they've shown and what President Trump's carrying out in this country. But I'm going to tell you, everyday people like me and you, we appreciate it. We know there's a difference. This is different, 100%. I don't know. I want to trust them. I want to, but I don't know that I can. So
no, I hear you, Brian.
Listen to the rest of the show. Thank you.
Hey, man, I appreciate you calling in. I don't think you're alone. I think that a lot of people are hopeful but hesitant. Trust is going to take some time to build, 100%. But it does feel that this is different. Donald Trump saying that this is the end of an age.
This is not only the end of a war. This is the end of an age of terror and death, and the beginning of the age of faith and hope and of God. It's the start of a grand concord and lasting harmony for Israel and all the nations of what will soon be a truly magnificent region. I believe that so strongly. This is the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
I think the difference for me is just how it just feels like God is in the details on this one. I think it's different because of how Donald Trump is addressing God, giving God all the credit in his speech. And I think that prosperity that he's offering is something that hasn't been offered before. That's your quickest way to peace. And if anybody can do it, Trump is the guy to get it across the goal line. More from Donald Trump this morning in Israel.
And let me also convey my tremendous appreciation for all of the nations of the Arab and Muslim world that came together to press Hamas to set the hostages free and to send them home. We had a lot of help. We had a lot of help from a lot of people that you wouldn't suspect, and I want to thank them very much for that. It's an incredible triumph for Israel and the world to have all of these nations working together as partners in peace. And it's pretty unusual for you to see that, but it happened in this case. This was a very unusual point in time, a brilliant point in time. Generations from now, this will be remembered as the moment that everything began to change, and change very much for the better. Like the USA right now, it will be the golden age of Israel and the golden age of the Middle East.
The golden age of the Middle East, the golden age of America, the golden age of Israel. Things have changed. This feels different. It does. I'm hopeful. And I get, we were talking to Brian a second ago. I get where the lack of trust is coming from. Trust me, I get it. But I've had a lack of trust in Donald Trump before, and he proved me wrong. And at this point, I don't think that we have any other option but to trust Trump in this, but to trust the Lord in this. And I do. I think he's at work in the details. He absolutely crushed the speech this morning. He was unbelievable from start to finish. And he says this is not the end. This is the beginning. What we're going to see is only going to get better. And he talked about how this is going to be a productive relationship. This is going to create that prosperity. You're going to see neighbors in the region who have hated each other for decades upon decades become partners and in his words, eventually friends.
It's more obvious than ever that the productive and responsible nations of this region should not be enemies or adversaries. You should be partners and eventually even friends, and that's what's going to happen. I know it. Together you can stand against the forces of chaos. Yeah, you go ahead. That's an important point. Because you can stand against the forces of chaos that threaten all of your interests, and it's always a big threat, and unleash incredible prosperity and opportunity for all the people of these lands.
That's one thing that's going to really, I think, advance all of this is the opportunity for prosperity. I think that's a game changer. And I think when Donald Trump makes that promise, he's one of those guys that can absolutely deliver on it. We do now have wheels down in Egypt. Air Force One has landed for the summit in Egypt on Gaza's future. As that goes live, we'll hold it for you here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Again, my friend Jonathan Cho will be joining the show around 10:35 to talk about Antifa and the homeless industrial complex. It's just going to be a bit of a sidebar today as we cover the obviously monumental story of peace in the Middle East. It's wild. It's something that we've been saying since we were kids. I remember in the 90s, peace in the Middle East, and it used to be a pipe dream. Yet today, it feels like we're on the cusp of that becoming a reality. All praise to God. We'll be covering this, and we'll be taking your phone calls, 615-737-9986. It's 9:22. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. It is officially spooky season, and Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling is the crew that you can trust. When you give them a call, they won't ghost you. And here's the fun part. You can join the Beehive Club this month for free. All you got to do is carve a pumpkin of Buzz the Bee, throw it on social media, and tag Busy Bee, and boom, you're in. You show off your carving skills or your kids' carving skills, and you snag some great perks. Now for the real treats. If you need HVAC service, you schedule that fall maintenance, and you'll get a free dryer vent cleaning. That's a $229 value. Plumbing issues? Well, they'll flush your water heater for free with any plumbing repair. Your pipes are going to thank you. And if you're thinking about a new HVAC system, they've got a scary good deal. Free 10-year parts, 5-year labor warranty. That's $750 in value with any system installed. Don't let the home headaches haunt you. Call Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling today, where the service is solid and the deals are spooky good. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. BusyBeeHVAC.com.
President Trump now on the ground in Egypt for a summit that will determine Gaza's future. Also, why nerves may still be rattled days after the explosion at AES that claimed presumably 16 lives. That and more at 9:30 on Supertalk 99.7 WTN.
The reason why we are at this moment, Kristen, is because the President of the United States, he gave unusual authorities to people who had never been in diplomacy before. He actually broke the mold. Instead of doing diplomacy the same old way that it had failed for the past 30 or 40 years, he gave Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner a remarkable amount of authority to go and get a peace deal done. And he worked hard on everybody from the Israelis to the Gulf Arab states to make this happen. This was very hard. This was a long time coming. It required a lot of work. But yes, I believe that we are on the cusp of peace in Gaza for the first time, not just in a couple of years, but really in a very long time, because the President of the United States has done something that no other world leader has been able to do: unite the Israelis with the Gulf Arab states for a common objective, and that is to bring the hostages home, to stop the war, and to build the kind of long-term settlement that we really do believe can lead to a lasting peace.
That was J.D. Vance over the weekend on NBC's Meet the Press. J.D. Vance was on a full court press over the weekend. He was on CBS. He was on ABC. He was on NBC. He was on Fox. The guy was a machine. And a lot of people are talking now that Trump is going to be working for a third term. They're going to figure out a way to get him on a ballot for a third term. I said, we got 48 already waiting in the wings. It's J.D. Vance. I'm seeing a lot of people laughing, because I had mentioned that we've been saying peace in the Middle East since I was a kid in the 90s. And people are like, try the 70s for me. And another guy say, try the 60s. Yeah, I get it. But for the first time in my lifetime, it does seem like we have an opportunity here for peace. I got a lot of other text messages coming through, and I love you guys chiming in. And you're welcome to chime in, 615-737-9986. A lot of people are going to Revelation, saying that the peace will be a false peace. I get it. I'm not here to be a theologian. That's not my role. I trust in the Lord. It seems like he's working in the details here, and I'm going to keep trusting. But this is, no matter how you slice it, a historic day. 100% unfathomable with anyone else in office other than President Trump. And for that, we thank him. We're going to be following this peace summit that's scheduled in Egypt. It's a summit on Gaza's future. We have President Trump. His motorcade is getting ready. He is about to walk off Air Force One. We'll keep you updated on all the happenings there. We'll cover that live as best we can, and we'll bring you more of the highlights from that speech in Israel this morning when we return. It's 9:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Well, the remains of only 4 of the 28 deceased hostages have been returned now to Israel. And we're hearing that Israel has been able to identify those 4. But this is a potential hiccup in the peace deal. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz saying that if not all remains are returned, it does constitute a failure to uphold commitments. And a powerful group within Israel is calling for the peace agreement to be suspended until after all of the bodies are back in Israel. Meantime, President Trump's now set to meet with world leaders for a peace summit in Egypt, his plane having just landed moments ago. ABC News chief international correspondent James Longman is there in Egypt with more.
First massive hurdle they're going to have a real deep discussions about is how Hamas disarms, presumably with the Qataris and with the Turks and the Egyptians and others. Will they? They haven't said they will. They said publicly in broad strokes that they agree with the proposals set out by Donald Trump. But what will that actually look like?
We will continue to cover the events there in Egypt all throughout the day. The president has yet to depart Air Force One and walk down the ramp there. We are still waiting for that to happen. The families of 16 people searching for answers in Hickman and Humphreys counties after the explosion that leveled an entire business on a sprawling site on Friday. Channel 4's Alexandria Adams saying there may be more tense moments ahead for those living nearby.
Just how long it's going to take, that's unanswered at this point, and they're now asking for the patience from that community. And they're also added additional detonations that will continue to happen throughout this process. And it's a process that's left so many families, they say, unsure with a lot of questions.
Now, the investigation continues with teams from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, which has a specialized team moving in 12-inch sections across the blast site. Bomb technicians, chemists, and drones have also been deployed. That is the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here from my friends at Cabinet Makeovers. I hope you had a chance to check out Dan, the owner of Cabinet Makeovers, at the Williamson County Home Show over the weekend. They had an unbelievable patriotic booth, and I hope you had the chance to see their work in person. What they do is unbelievable. I actually see their work in person every day when I walk into my kitchen. They have installed some brand new pull-out cabinets in my home, and I got to tell you, they're awesome. I love them, and so does the wife. This is a family-owned company. They've been serving Middle Tennessee for over 45 years. Everything they do is Tennessee-made. Every cabinet, pull-out, drawer, all wood construction, full extension, soft close glides. The craftsmanship is top-notch, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't realize how much I was going to love pull-out cabinets until I've had them in my home. They're unbelievable. Now, this is what makes them really special. A well-designed kitchen is going to change your life. Physically, I'm not digging in the back of my cabinets for pots and pans anymore. They all just pull right out. It helps the kids, too, when they're getting snacks in the pantry. It's an unbelievable investment that you can make in your home. They don't just stop at kitchens. They'll do custom closets, pantries, cabinetry for every room in your house. Maybe you need something done in the garage. They can do it for you. So do what I did. Call my friend Dan over at Cabinet Makeovers today and talk to him. 615-331-7010, 615-331-7010, or you can find examples of their work online, cabinetmakeoverstn.com. It's 9:38 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us anywhere. iHeartRadio, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch the show. We're live on Super Talk TV, and we would love for you to watch the show. We're on YouTube, Rumble, Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, all the places. Hit like, hit subscribe. Anywhere that you're listening online is going to have a share button, and we always ask you to help us increase the digital footprint of the radio station by clicking that share button. It really does help us. And if you want to watch the show and you're wondering why would I want to watch a radio show online, we have video for all of the elements that you hear on your radio, so that way you can get a full visual of what's happening. I think that especially in a situation like today, seeing the body language, seeing the posture of these individuals really does help see more of what's happening. You get a better understanding of it. That's just me personally, not knocking the radio. We love the radio listeners, and if that's the only way you can listen, we appreciate you. But there's a lot to cover. President Trump, just an unbelievable speech. We do have wheels down in Egypt right now. There's going to be a summit on Gaza's future. We're going to be staying with that as closely as we can. But this morning, I mean, Trump just delivering an unbelievable speech. Went long as Donald Trump tends to. Not a fan of sticking to the prompter, but he was crushing it. He crushed it over and over. And one of the things that he's doing is he's saying you have an opportunity here. The opportunity is to bring your nations into prosperity. And he highlighted that over and over and over. He said, instead of sending your money into missiles, what if we could have that money going to schools? What if we could have that money going to medicine? What if we could have that money going to industry? It would change things so fast. This is President Trump earlier this morning.
So instead of building fortresses to keep enemies at bay, the nations of this region should be building infrastructure to weave your commerce closer together, because you've got to compete with the big world out there in commerce now. It's a different kind of competition. Instead of making weapons and missiles, the wealth of this region should flow to schools and medicine, industry, and, frankly, the new hot thing, artificial intelligence. It's a lot of intelligence they're going to have to be thrown off to pay back these sums of money that they're doing. But that's really the hot one. And I might say that the United States, a year ago, was a dead country. I say it to people. I heard it first from the King of Saudi Arabia. I then heard it from UAE. I heard it from Qatar. I heard it from many other countries. A year ago, the United States of America was a dead country. Now it's the hottest country anywhere in the world. It is the hottest. There's no question about it.
It's amazing what a leadership change can do for a nation. Unbelievable.
In fact, if you go back a year ago, before the election, although once we had November 5th, we became hot because people got it. I would say November 5th was a time that we became really hot. But once you go back a couple of years, if I were in charge and the country was doing what they were, nobody was going to ask me to speak. Nobody asked Joe Biden to come up and speak, I guarantee you that. And if they did, he would have turned them down, I promise you. He didn't speak. He didn't speak, and he didn't speak well. But all of the countries in the Middle East, it could have, what we're doing now, it could have happened a long time ago, but it was strangled and set back almost irretrievably by the administrations of Barack Obama and then Joe Biden. There was a hatred toward Israel. There was an absolute hatred. The setbacks really started when President Obama signed the Iran nuclear deal. This was a disaster for Israel, and it was a disaster for everyone. And I remember that Bibi Netanyahu came to the United States and worked so hard to try and get Obama not to do that deal.
Pallets of cash.
He worked so hard. And
I mean, that's President Trump. He's absolutely right. This couldn't be done with the failed Democratic leadership that we've seen in administrations past. Could you imagine Joe Biden doing anything like this? Now, make no mistake about it. His administration has tried to take some credit. They've given some out. Anthony Blinken did give credit to President Trump for getting this across the finish line. He also said that it was built off of their existing peace deal, which is just a huge joke, an unbelievable joke. When that happened, we've seen quite a few Dems actually give President Trump credit. Just in all honesty, it's been wild. But when he said this was all built on Biden's plan, they brought that up to President Trump while they were on Air Force One on the way to Israel, and Trump just laughed it off because I don't know what else you can do with such an asinine statement.
Places that you don't want to know about. Deep.
Some of the top Biden administration folks who were there, like Antony Blinken, seem to want some credit for the peace deal. Blinken says it's good that President Trump adopted and built on the plan that the Biden administration developed. What do you think about that?
Everybody knows that's a joke. Look, they did such a bad job. This should have never happened. This wouldn't have even happened. That was weak leadership, terrible. And the same thing with Russia, Ukraine. If just a decent president, not a great president like me, not a great president. If a decent president was in, you wouldn't have had the Russia-Ukraine. And this is, I would say, even more so. This was bad policy by Biden and by Obama. Remember when Bibi came and he begged that you not do what they were doing with Iran? You remember that, right? Begged them. And they wouldn't even listen to him. Everything they did was the opposite of what you should have done. And it's nice that they try and take a little credit. That was years ago, and the mistakes were made years ago, and it was both by Biden and Obama.
I love it when he goes, everything they did was the opposite of what should have been done. It was essentially George Costanza politics. You remember the episode of Seinfeld when George was like, hey, I realized if I just do the opposite of my instincts, everything is going to work out for me. That's what we saw with the Biden administration, except they didn't go with the opposite of their instincts.
And so what did you do so differently? Because I know a lot of it was behind the scenes. So what did you do so much differently than Joe Biden to end the war?
I resonated with the Arab leaders, the Muslim leaders, and the Jewish leaders. For whatever reason, you tell me why. You know, he said that in my first news conference, I answered more questions of him than Biden did in 4 years. And I think that's pretty close to being true.
Now, there were.
He says, you tell me what I did differently. I think that you can honestly make the case, and it's going to be a hard case to beat, that it's Donald Trump's personal relationships. This was a peace deal that really began because Donald Trump wasn't against having personal relationships with quote-unquote bad leaders, the dictators of the world. He wasn't going into a relationship with the preconceived notion that you're evil. He treated people like humans. He humanizes the enemy. We've seen this time and time and time again. If you want war, dehumanize the enemy. If you want peace, humanize them. And that's what Donald Trump does that's so different. And then he promises prosperity. But they said that wasn't going to be the case. And in his speech this morning, he highlighted, the statements of former leaders like Hillary Clinton, who said that he would be a warmonger. This was President Trump earlier this morning in Israel.
Good to say it. But when you settle 8 wars in 8 months, that means you don't like war. Everyone thought I was going to be brutal. In fact, I remember Hillary Clinton during a debate, she said, look at him. He's going to go to war with everybody. And actually, she said, he's got a personality that's all about war. No, and my personality actually is all about stopping wars, and it seems to work.
It does. 8 wars, 8 months. We got over 3 years left with this guy. It's crazy. To her credit, though, I will say this. Hillary Clinton was on CBS over the weekend. And listen, give credit where credit is due. She acknowledged that President Trump was unbelievable in this. What he did deserves a lot of credit. I'm shocked as well that she said this, but she did.
It's a really significant first step, and I really commend President Trump and his administration, as well as Arab leaders in the region, for making the commitment to the 20-point plan and seeing a path forward for what's often called the day after.
I really commend President Trump. Is that hell freezing over? Is that what just happened? I think what we witnessed is hell freezing over. Hillary Clinton giving President Trump some credit. I mean, it wasn't just Hillary. We said, I mentioned Anthony Blinken giving him a little bit of credit. You had Mark Kelly, Senator Mark Kelly, giving a lot of credit. Fetterman, we expected Fetterman. He seems to be the only reasonable member of the Democrat Party these days. But Trump deserves a lot of credit here, an unbelievable amount of credit. So does Steve Witkoff. So does Jared Kushner. So does the Arab world leaders. So does the Israeli negotiators and leaders. And to a certain extent, so does members of the Palestinian Authority and Hamas. It takes two to tango. And all of these different voices, all of these different angles, they came together and they agreed on this 20-point peace plan. It's wild, man. It is a wild day. Truly historic. I feel woefully unprepared and unequipped to cover this news because it's news that I didn't think that we would see. I didn't. I thought we'd see a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine before we saw a peace deal between Israel and Hamas. And if you were a betting man, I think you would have taken the Russia-Ukraine deal as well. Yet here we are. It seems we got one more war to deal with. Trust in Trump. Trust in Trump. But what we're seeing is truly remarkable. Again, Vance was on just the media circuit all weekend long. ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox News. He went everywhere. And he was just honestly praising the president. And he says what we're seeing is Muslims and Jews and Christians all coming together and being unified, that this peace deal is the right move for the world. And he's right. This was J.D. Vance on CBS's Face the Nation yesterday morning.
But I think if you look at the dancing in the street in Gaza, if you look at the way that the Gulf Arab states, really the entire Muslim world, but also you look at how the Israelis responded. They were cheering at the mention of President Trump's name yesterday in a massive rally in Israel. This is one of those peace deals where Muslims and Jews and Christians all seem unified, that it's a really good thing for the world. It's a really good thing for humanity, and it happened because of President Trump's leadership. So I actually think this peace deal will make us safer. I'm sure there are going to be some hard feelings from the last couple of years of war. There always are. But if we can build a sustainable peace, Margaret, I am 100% sure Americans will be safer because of it. But
he's right. And the world will be safer because of it. There will be hard feelings. There will be hiccups. Nothing is going to be flawless. Nothing is going to be 100% perfect. And all we can do is continue to pray. Pray for the president, pray for this peace deal, and honestly, appreciate what we have in front of us. As Vance said, you have Muslims, Jews, and Christians all unified that this is a good thing. When's the last time we've said that about anything? It's wild. 9:51. This is Super Talk, 99.7 WTN.
Well, he's on the ground in Egypt, and we'll get an update, too, on President Trump's historic peace summit. He is, at the moment, speaking with reporters. We've got that and more coming up here at 10 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Yeah, we got video of the president arriving here in Egypt for that Gaza peace deal. They are addressing reporters right now. It's Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt, I believe, where they are. Currently?
They're in Egypt. They're in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt.
Sharm el-Sheikh.
Yeah.
Sharm el-Sheikh. So we're going to be following this very, very closely. If you're watching us on the video stream, you're seeing, once again, the president being mobbed by all sorts of individuals. This has been a constant theme this morning. Wherever President Trump is going, it seems like everybody just wants the opportunity to shake his hand and say thank you. It does seem like it's a bit of a security nightmare. But
so many people have been pressed in so close to him. It gives me the chills as I watch it.
I know it. Let's just pray that President Trump stays safe and returns home safely and quickly. A lot of individuals. I've been texting them back and forth with a lot of friends of the show. I think we're like a tight knit family at this point with the listeners here. And I was texting with my friend Dave, our favorite Hebrew. He calls in from time to time, and he said he doesn't trust them, and doesn't trust Hamas. And he said maybe they'll chill out, maybe it'll be a few months, 3 at best. And I said you might be right, but I think what we can both agree on is that we'll both be praying that you're wrong. And he said yes, indeed. This is one of those things. I think that we're all going to have a bit of a lack of trust. But we're all going to hope that that's not the case. I have faith. I don't know how we can't at this point. Steve Witkoff yesterday was speaking at a rally in Israel. This is in Tel Aviv. He's flanked by Jared Kushner, Ivanka Trump. This was Steve Witkoff yesterday talking about the leadership of President Trump.
To President Donald J. Trump, a man who is a humanitarian through and through, with the indomitable spirit, who once again proved that bold leadership and moral clarity can reshape history and change the world. We all owe a debt of deep gratitude to President Trump.
Now, interesting wrinkle at this rally yesterday. Huge crowd, massive crowd, thousands of people. And when Witkoff said we need to give credit to Benjamin Netanyahu, the crowd booed mercilessly. Then he's kind of taken aback by it. He's like, oh, okay. He goes, and we also need to give credit to President Trump. And the crowd erupted in cheers. I think the people of Israel are giving a lot more credit to Trump in this situation than they are Benjamin Netanyahu. I don't know if that's right. I don't know if that's wrong. I'm just telling you what I'm observing. And we're going to be staying with this story quite a bit. It's the biggest story in the world right now. You're welcome to chime in as well. 615-737-9986. That's the number to call in. That's the number to text in. You can also jump in the chat on YouTube or Rumble. We appreciate you watching or listening, however you may be doing so. It's 10 o'clock. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. And President Trump is now on the ground, and he has arrived now at the Peace Summit there in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. Let's get the latest here from ABC News on this historic day.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Brian Clark. Cheers today across Israel as Hamas released all 20 living hostages after more than 2 years. And President Trump told the Israeli parliament,
The long and painful nightmare is finally over.
As for the deceased, the Israeli military says the Red Cross is en route to pick up a number of coffins from a designated location. Israel says it released more than 1,900 Palestinian prisoners as part of its end of the first part of this peace agreement. The long-term future is now the topic of a peace summit in Egypt. Former Defense and State Department official Steve Ganyard says while there are plenty of questions about what happens next in Gaza,
what's going to need to happen for the international community is get the humanitarian supplies in and then begin to think about how do the Israelis begin to withdraw. But
President Trump is just arrived in Egypt where he is co-chairing that summit. This is ABC News.
And it is now 6:01 p.m. there in Egypt. A long day for President Trump and for the entire group of folks from the United States that have arrived there today in Israel initially. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu will not be attending this meeting in Egypt, co-chaired by the president. His office saying that that's due to an upcoming Jewish holiday. However, reports say that Netanyahu was also concerned about the prospect of being pictured alongside Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas, who will be attending that summit. Netanyahu has already made clear that he would not accept a role for the Palestinian leader in any post-war Gaza. The families of 16 people searching for answers in Hickman and Humphreys counties after that explosion that leveled an entire business on a sprawling site Friday. Channel 4's Alexandria Adams says there may be more tense moments ahead for those living nearby.
Just how long it's going to take, that's unanswered at this point, and they're now asking for the patience from that community. And they're also added additional detonations that will continue to happen throughout this process. And it's a process that's left so many families, they say, unsure with a lot of questions.
Governor Bill Lee toured that site yesterday. The investigation is in the hands of local investigators, the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, and agents from the ATF. Now, starting today, students and staff members at Humphreys County schools have access to a couple of counselors to help them process through the tragedy. Students and staff will have quiet places to talk and therapists on hand. And by the way, that explosion was so great that even the U.S. Geological Survey detected it, categorizing the explosion as a 1.6 magnitude with a 155-mile wide radius. That is the latest news. We've got weather up next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:07 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. Show is brought to you by our friends at Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. You can listen to us anywhere, iHeart, TuneIn, the FM dial. You can watch the show. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, the big ones, YouTube, and Rumble. Hit like, hit subscribe, share the show with your friends. If you're listening on any online platform, there's going to be a share button. We ask you to help us grow the digital footprint of the radio station by clicking share. It really does help. It really does help. We're witnessing a historic day, and it's unbelievable. A lot of people thought that this would never happen. President Trump arriving in Egypt, sitting down with the president of Egypt, and everybody's all smiles. Historic day.
An amazing period of time, like I think nobody's seen before. And we had tremendous stop, as you know, in Israel, and now we're in a country where a friend of mine is a very powerful leader, and my friend is right here, the president, also the general, you know. Sometimes I call him, usually I call him the general because he's both, and he's good at both. And they've done a fantastic job, and they have very little crime, you know, because they don't play games, that's why. They don't play games like we do in the United States with governors that have no idea what they're doing. But they don't have crime. I ask about crime, and they almost don't even know what I'm talking about. So it's a great tribute to this man. He's done a fantastic job in bringing this country together, and the United States is with him all the way. Thank you. Okay, all the way, and it's an honor to be with you.
Never miss an opportunity to take a jab at Democrats and Democrat-run cities, I suppose. If Egypt can be crime-free, why can't Portland? Why can't Chicago? Well, they don't play games. President Trump continued, though, saying this is what he does. He's a deal maker. He makes deals.
Now, you were talking about a possible Iran peace deal. You said, we are ready when you are. Yeah. Is that the ultimate goal with today's signing, to get enough?
Not Iran, but I think Iran will come along. They've been battered and bruised, and you know they need some help. They have big sanctions, as you know, tremendous sanctions. I'd love to take the sanctions off when they're ready to talk, but they can't really survive with those sanctions. Those sanctions are very tough. But at some point, they're going to say, "We want the sanctions off." We're going to end up with peace. I think Iran is going to be fine. I know so many Iranian people. They're great people. They're smart. Great people, engineers, lawyers, I mean, they're academics, but they took a big hit. And frankly, if we didn't hit them with the nuclear, I don't think you would have been able to have this incredible, this deal, this once-in-a-lifetime deal. Nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening today. And countries have all come together, all different countries. Some liked each other, some didn't, most didn't. And they've all come together. Every country has come together. And by the way, Iran did put out a statement, you know, that they support this deal very wholeheartedly. So that was in itself something. But no, I think they want to, that's all I do in my life. I make deals. And they want to make a deal.
I love that. That's all I do. I make deals. Listen, I'm fully open with the fact that I doubted President Trump's path towards peace with the Iran situation. I didn't want a prolonged Middle Eastern war. I don't think any of us do, and I didn't see the third option, which was just taking out the nuclear strike, the nuclear sites, and then getting out of there. I didn't see that as an option at all. President Trump did, and he did the right thing. And I mean, if you can't see that now, I don't know how we can show you. But my point is, how can we not trust this man at this point in time? One of the things that happened over the weekend, which I think is a big bit of news that has been a bit overlooked, was J.D. Vance saying, listen, we are not going to have boots on the ground in Gaza. That is not part of this deal. And I think that that's a point that has, if you weren't paying attention yesterday during the Sunday shows, given the light of the news today, it's going to go unnoticed, but I think it's important to highlight. The vice president said, we will not have boots on the ground in Gaza or Israel as part of this peace deal?
We're not planning to put boots on the ground. What we already have is a U.S. Central Command. We already have people in that region of the world. They're going to monitor the terms of the ceasefire. They're going to monitor, ensure the humanitarian aid is flowing. They actually confirmed yesterday that Israel pulled back to the agreed upon lines, which of course is the first condition. The second condition, or the second term, is for the hostages to be released. So we have people in that region of the world who are going to monitor parts of this peace proposal, but the president is not planning to put boots on the ground in Israel.
What about Gaza? Will U.S. troops ever be sent into Gaza? Just yes or no?
That's what I mean, Kristen. He is not planning to put boots on the ground in Gaza or Israel.
Okay.
We're going to have Central Command troops that are already there that are going to monitor this peace proposal. We've actually had, and this is one of the great successes of the president's diplomacy, from Indonesia to the Gulf Arab states.
Okay.
We've had a number of Muslim majority countries offer to step up and have them put troops on the ground to secure Gaza. It's not going to be necessary for American troops to be in Gaza.
That's huge. That's massive. If you blinked, you missed it yesterday, and I think it's important to highlight there's going to be no troops on the ground in Gaza. There won't be. American troops, that's not what we're looking at here. Also, just moments ago, we had Marco Rubio weighing in on the peace deal, saying that this is one of the most important days for world peace in 50 years.
Egypt's been a phenomenal participant. I think both Steve and Jared will tell you the critical role they played, and they can tell you themselves they hosted the talks here, and they're going to play a very important role now in the follow-up, the implementation of this, which is really, it's not simply about restoring Gaza, it is about transforming the region. So we have an incredible partner, a long alliance, very capable partner here, and a tremendous collection of leaders. This is clearly, in my mind, I think in the mind of everyone in this room, probably one of the most important days for world peace in 50 years. And that's not an exaggeration.
Only 50?
Maybe 100. Certainly since the end of World War II, Mr. President.
Mr. Wickoff.
I love that. Only 50, Marco. Wow, Marco, only 50. It's truly what we're seeing here is historic. It's an unbelievable moment, and it couldn't have been done without President Trump. Couldn't have been done without the grace of God. He said, "Only 50, Marco, only 50." I think you can make the case that this is even bigger than that. Steve Witkoff deserves a lot of credit in this situation. Jared Kushner deserves a lot of credit in this situation. The unconventional way that they went about this has been unbelievable, and you have to understand that this wasn't done the traditional way. Steve Witkoff is a real estate guy. He's not an international foreign policy expert. He's a guy that just knows how to make deals. He's a guy that knows how to talk to people like humans. And that's massive. It's absolutely massive. Steve Witkoff being involved really cemented this thing. And there's a bunch of audio that we have from the rally yesterday in Israel, where it's stunning. It's stunning what we're seeing. But Trump doing something that no other world leader has been able to do in a way that no other world leader was willing to do. And we're seeing the fruit of that today. We are. We're absolutely seeing the fruit to the point where even Democrats are giving him credit. This is Senator Mark Kelly yesterday on CNN.
Start with the Middle East, the remaining hostages. We could see them coming back, hopefully, within the next 24 hours to Israel. Aid trucks are already headed into Gaza. How much credit does President Trump deserve for this deal?
I think he should get a lot of credit. I mean, this was his deal. He worked this out. He sent Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, over to negotiate this, and so far has gone well. Hopefully the hostages get released here. Might not be within 24 hours, but certainly I think by Monday. And that's progress.
Amen. Listen, I'm grateful that the Democrats aren't. At least it doesn't seem yet like they're finding ways to poo-poo this. There will be opportunities for that, I'm sure. There will be naysayers, I'm sure. But Senator Mark Kelly is no fan of Trump. And he gives credit to the president. He also gives credit to Steve Witkoff. A little bit more from Steve Witkoff yesterday in Israel at their rally with Jared Kushner, his wife Ivanka, and Steve Witkoff.
To President Donald J. Trump, a man who is a humanitarian through and through, with the indomitable spirit, who once again proved that bold leadership and moral clarity can reshape history and change the world. We all owe a debt of deep gratitude to President Trump. In the worst of times, he refused to accept the idea that peace in the Mideast was out of reach. He brought together nations once divided. He brought together nations once divided by generations of conflict and showed us that shared peace is stronger than shared pain. History will remember that when others doubted, President Trump believed. He is the greatest president in American history, and we're here because of him.
Amen. And to Witkoff, I would say people will remember you as well throughout all of this. Steve Witkoff's role can't be understated. What he was able to do as a guy with no foreign policy experience has been unbelievable. President Trump moments ago with the president of Egypt, giving them credit for the massive role that they played.
Sir, what will Egypt's role play in the peace process here?
He played a very important role, and they had a very important role with Hamas. In fact, the general was right here, was very instrumental because Hamas respects this country and they respect the leadership of Egypt. So he played a very important role. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Played a very important role, and I thank you very much. There's more from the sit-down with the president of Egypt and President Trump. And he was asked about negotiations on the peace deal and what the next steps are going to be.
Can you tell us when phase 2 of the negotiations will begin?
Well, it started. It started as far as we're concerned. Phase 2 is starting. And, the phases are all a little bit mixed in with each other. They're going to start cleaning up. You look at Gaza, it needs a lot of cleanup. That's why when I talked in my speech, I talked about the debris. I used the word debris. That's debris times 10. So, but they're gonna really do a job. They have a lot of power. In another room, you have some of the wealthiest nations in the world. All leaders, the big leaders are here. The emirs and the kings and everybody, and it's a very interesting group. I guess we have like 35 countries. And that's only because they were the 35 that we invited. Everybody that we invited came. So there's a lot of respect. And I think you'll see some tremendous progress.
Tremendous progress. Let's keep praying for that progress. Let's keep praying for peace. Let's acknowledge where we're at today. Let's appreciate the moment that we're in, a moment that many said would never happen. Yet here we are. And let's continue to pray. We're getting more video and audio out of that sit down between the president of Egypt and the president of the United States. Excuse me. We'll bring you some of the latest on the way. Also, just a sidebar. After the news at 10:30, we will take a bit of a detour. Really excited about this conversation we're going to have. Jonathan Cho is an investigative reporter, and he was at the Antifa roundtable with the president on Wednesday, I believe it was. And I really wanted to get him on the show. Thursday morning, he was flying to Arizona for a meeting at Turning Point, and then he was going to be on the show Friday. I ended up being sick on Friday. But we're going to have Jonathan Cho joining the show to talk about how Antifa is using the homeless industrial complex to their advantage in Seattle and in Portland. It's going to be a really cool conversation, and I'm looking forward to that. We'll also be bringing you the latest updates out of the Middle East as they become available, and we'll be covering what is the biggest story in the world pretty much nonstop today. I can assure you. I'm excited to hear a lot of the takes, as I'm sure you are as well, and we'll bring you the latest right here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at United Structural Systems. You know them as USS. I know them as the best, and I got some questions for you. Are your floors sagging? Are there cracks showing up in the drywall? Are there doors in your house that just aren't shutting right? These aren't minor issues. These are actually red flags and warning signs that there could be a much bigger problem happening right beneath your feet. Could be an issue with your foundation. Now, a solid foundation is the backbone of a strong home, and when it weakens, it's only going to get worse over time. None of these issues are going to fix themselves. What you got to do is call the guys who are experts, call the guys that have been doing it since 1994, call the people we trust, United Structural Systems. They're going to keep your home dry, stable, and secure the way it should be. USS uses American-made adjustable steel supports built to last and backed with a transferable warranty. That's how confident they are. If you leave the house, the warranty can stay because they're confident in the work they do. When it comes to your home, don't kick the can down the road. Call the best. Call USS. 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or find them online, USSTN.com.
I'm Pastor Alan Jackson. I'm excited to invite you to join me for my brand new show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Every Sunday night from 7 to 8, I'll be talking about the week's news and headlines, but through a biblical lens. Together, we'll look at what's happening in our world and how God's Word can guide us through it. Join me, Pastor Alan Jackson, Sunday evenings at 7 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And you can listen on iHeartRadio and tune in.
The Peace Summit is now underway in Egypt with President Trump and Egypt's president co-chairing that event. We will tell you what we know about what's happening on the ground there. That and more at 10:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Joan Jones in the newsroom doing a fantastic job as always. My name's Chris Hand. Mason Fleming is producing. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners, betterwater.com. We got Jonathan Cho joining the show after the news at 10:30. We're going to take a sidebar from the biggest story in the world today to talk about Antifa and the homeless industrial complex. It's going to be a really cool conversation with Cho, who's just another fantastic reporter. In the meantime, we are still digging out some audio from the sit-down that we just saw with the president of Egypt and the president of the United States, Donald Trump, asking what are the next steps in Gaza and Israel.
The living hostages have been returned. Can you please tell us what the next steps are?
Well, they're going and looking for bodies. It's a pretty gruesome task, and they know where numerous are, as you know. I guess 5 or 6 are in yet now, but they're looking for bodies. They know the areas, and they search bodies out, and they're doing it in conjunction with Israel, and they're going to be finding quite a few of them.
I mean, that's the dark reality of all this, right? That as grateful as we are that 20 hostages were returned, there's a lot more bodies to be recovered. And that work is going to continue. And we pray for them, and we pray for the families that are still waiting for the remains of their family members. Steve Witkoff also breaking down what it looked like inside the room when the deal came through.
The minute we had inked the deal, Jared and I were already working on the implementation side of the deal. So we're dug in. We'll be here quite a bit. That's at the direction of the president. That's probably going to be one of the most important phases here. Jared is remarkable to work with. I talk about it all the time. And, of course, we both love working for the president. So it's feels like a very honorable job.
As soon as it was inked, we were working on implementation. President Trump talking about how 6 months ago, you would have never seen this deal coming.
Well, we had a lot of great success and a lot of great countries that wanted this to happen. You know, countries that you wouldn't think. Qatar was fantastic. Saudi Arabia was fantastic. UAE was fantastic. Jordan, the King Abdullah he just couldn't have been nicer.
What do those countries have in common? Oh, that's right. President Trump visited all of them on his Middle East summit, his historic Middle East summit, just a few months ago.
I call him general, but president. You can call him whatever you want. But El-Sisi, strong, tough, like an unbelievable guy. They all wanted to see this happen. That's the amazing thing. Everybody came together at this point. If you go back 6 months or 7 months, you would have said a thing like this is impossible.
True.
I mean, we have 35 different countries over there, all there just about all with their leaders, not just, sending somebody over. And they all wanted this to happen. And I think I had a big impact, but, I can have a big impact. If they don't want it to happen, it's not going to happen. They all wanted this to happen, and it's one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I mean, I watched your coverage, and I really appreciate it. You're a real professional, not because it's good or bad. You're just really professional. It'd be great if other people could do what you do, because, they put negative spins. But even if you look at the spin that the other, I would call them the fake news, has been putting on it, everybody's been positive. It's sort of a miracle.
He's right, though. Even the leftists have been giving a lot of credit to President Trump. We've seen that over and over and over again. CNN last night with Wolf Blitzer and Caitlin Collins giving credit to President Trump. We had Hillary Clinton giving credit to President Trump. Senator Mark Kelly, a lot of different voices giving credit to President Trump. Abby Phillip last night was saying that if Obama puts out a post on the peace deal, he should really give credit to President Trump. This is Abby Phillip of CNN. She doesn't like President Trump. And they highlighted the fact that Obama put out a post and didn't mention President Trump at all.
Honestly, it's not unfair to say if President Obama's going to write a whole post about a peace deal, maybe he should acknowledge the president that brokered it.
I mean, what? We're witnessing things that we never thought we'd witness on so many different fronts. It's unbelievable. Hey, we got my friend Jonathan Cho joining us right after the news. It's going to be a great conversation on Antifa and the homeless industrial complex. We're going to take a sidebar from the biggest news of the day, but Joan Jones has the latest in the headlines, which starts right now on Super Talk.
Good morning. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. After answering questions from the press, President Trump is now co-chairing that summit that's taking place in Egypt right now with the goal of drawing up the lines of an agreement. It'll be a tough task. The president sitting alongside Egypt's President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi just moments ago, speaking of the incredible nature of this day.
Nobody's ever seen anything like what's happening today. And countries have all come together, all different countries. Some liked each other, some didn't, most didn't. And they've all come together. Every country has come together. And by the way, Iran did put out a statement, that they support this deal very wholeheartedly. So that was in itself something.
Now, he also told reporters that there are teams out searching Gaza now for the remains of the deceased hostages. He said they have knowledge of where they are and where they have been buried. Meantime, the peace is still shattered in Humphreys and Hickman counties here in Tennessee after that explosion of a munitions company. It has apparently taken the lives of 16 people. They remain unaccounted for. This woman tells WSMV4 that locals all knew somebody who had been working at AES that day.
It's been really, really, really hard because it was like it started out, okay, I know this person was probably there. We look on his Facebook. His family reports that he's missing. Okay, then there's another person. Well, what about him? Was he there? I know he's worked there ever since I did. He was there. And then just through the day, you find out more people. You get upset, you calm down, and then more people you hear about.
Yeah, crews are on the scene still this morning continuing to investigate. More than $100 million now headed to Mayor Freddie O'Connell's project that he calls the Choose How You Move initiative. Channel 4's Alexandria Adams on where that money will go.
Mayor O'Connell is saying that this new phase of funding will pay for improving access to the airport, breaking ground on new sidewalks, and installing more smart signal lights throughout the city.
Last November, Nashville voters approved a half-penny sales tax dedicated to funding those transportation projects. That is the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
It's 10:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I'm Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Really excited for my next guest, Jonathan Cho. You can find him on X at Cho Show, CHOE Show. This guy is an unbelievable reporter. I pray for him often. He's in the belly of the beast in Seattle, and he gave up a normal reporting gig in Boston, where I first found Cho, to, get doxxed and threatened by Antifa. Jonathan, welcome to the show, man. How are you?
Hey, good morning, Chris.
Why did you give up the normal job to have your address spray painted on buildings by Antifa members?
Well, I think you said it. It's just too normal, right? I need to have crazy and chaos, and that's the beat I'm on in Seattle. And I've been here doing it for the past almost 6 years now. And look, the Pacific Northwest is a different animal. I know your audience is primarily in Tennessee, and I'm from the East Coast, and my friends from Boston, they don't believe what's going on either, even to this day. My industry colleagues, because they're covering vanilla corporate news, and I'm like, guys, this is what President Trump's been talking about when he was talking about the enemy from within, and I'm talking about Antifa and the far left activists who want to destabilize America and usher in a violent revolution. And that's what I need to be covering and exposing now as an investigative journalist.
And I think that's why you're such an important follow on X, again, at Cho Show, CHOE Show. You've really done some unbelievable work, man, and I follow your reporting often. You were recently invited to the Antifa Roundtable at the White House. Tell me about what that's like after years of being doxxed, years of being violently assaulted, maybe throwing a few haymakers of your own at Antifa members, to then be invited to the White House to have your input, your expertise be asked.
Yeah, well, I can tell you we all left, all the journalists, the 12 independent reporters who were invited to the White House to meet with President Trump, we all left with this sense of relief that, oh my gosh, the President of the United States is finally acknowledging Antifa as a real domestic terrorist organization, when for all these years, the independents have been sounding the alarm. We've been getting into the fistfights, defending ourselves. We've been going into these, Antifa meetings undercover, exposing, getting the video, showing all this evidence for all these years. Mainstream media, in most cases, Democratic politicians in these respective, blue cities, ignoring the reality, only saying it's an idea. And then finally the president saying, no, we want you here to tell us what you've experienced. Tell us, show us how you've been assaulted. I mean, my colleague Katie Davis-Court at the Post Millennial was assaulted 1 week prior to going to the White House by an Antifa militant in Portland, hit in the face with a flagpole. She hunted down, chased down her attacker and offered the attacker up to police, Portland PD, and they didn't do anything about it. And she showed up to the White House sporting that, black eye and shiner. And, those are the types of experience the president wanted to hear. And he didn't want necessarily, a full-blown presentation, a research paper, white paper. He just wanted to hear our experiences because, we know he's going to take the next step and drop the full force and authority and power of the feds on the heads of these insane militants.
So it feels like you walk out of that Antifa roundtable really hopeful, and I was excited to talk to you that day later that evening, and we were trying to get you on the show, but you were on flights and all that. But
yeah,
to hear that you have Pam Bondi coming up after the roundtable to talk to you about the information you brought is very encouraging. Because you brought a piece of information that was an interesting wrinkle that hasn't been discussed before, which is how Antifa is benefiting from the homeless industrial complex. So I'd love for you to break that down for the audience. What is the homeless industrial complex in Seattle and in Portland, and how is this left-wing militant organization Antifa benefiting from it?
Yeah, and what makes this story so underreported, first of all, are the topics. Number one, homelessness. Barely gets covered in mainstream media, right? Yep. When I was a corporate journalist working in markets like Minneapolis, Boston, Chicago, the only times we'd cover the homeless beat is when it's Thanksgiving, right? You send the reporter early in the morning to the Salvation Army, and they're chopping up the turkey, and they're handing it out to the homeless and saying, oh, look at the good job, the volunteers are doing.
Right.
And when it comes to Antifa, when it comes to corporate media and Democrats especially, it doesn't exist. So imagine, having to research that. But here in the Pacific Northwest and in Portland, places like Seattle, thank God we have the research out here. Capital Research Center, which is actually based in Washington, D.C., but in partnership with the think tank where I'm a senior fellow at right now, which is Discovery Institute, based in Seattle, essentially commissioned a report. And it showed that these homeless and housing nonprofits that receive billions of dollars in taxpayers' dollars every single year were working, in some cases, with Antifa militants who are on the ground. And look, let me be very clear about Antifa. Antifa, no doubt, doesn't have a website where you can go sign up and get a membership card. Antifa has been so effective because they're decentralized.
Right.
But they use social media to reach the masses and their acolytes and their followers. They use flyers, on telephone poles. And people show up to what are being called direct actions, these insane protests, and they tell each other to attack, to destroy, to disrupt. And where I've seen the intersection between the homeless nonprofits and the homeless players and Antifa is directly on the streets. In places like Seattle and Portland, there's still homeless encampments everywhere. And the cities have been given the authority to remove or sweep these tents that are blocking public sidewalks. But this is where the homeless industrial complex comes in. And what I mean by that is, again, a collection of nonprofits, housing providers, service providers, outreach workers that usually lean far left and progressive, keeping this grift going. They are not interested in actually getting people off the streets and taking the next step back into society. The homeless industrial complex is referred to as keeping men and women in the same cycle, in the same housing, getting the same harm reduction drug supplies so they remain addicted instead of getting treatment and taking the next step out. Because if you lose a homeless person, that's potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars the housing providers no longer getting to fill that spot. So they want to keep this going as long as possible until the person dies. With that said, where I've seen Antifa come into this is that you have a lot of these homeless nonprofit workers who are Antifa members on the streets of Seattle. One group called Stop the Sweeps. It's a mutual aid group. They operate organically with flyers, social media posts saying, meet here. They intentionally try to create a crisis by getting in front of the police and blocking them. And they dress up in these black outfits like ninjas, like the Antifa militants that we see on the streets of Portland right now, trashing the ICE building. These people have been getting in front of the cops. And these are the same defund the police crew. And what they're doing is they're manufacturing a crisis. And we're seeing a lot of that. And these Stop the Sweeps folks, indirectly, and the homeless nonprofits are getting money to keep this grift going.
And it's taxpayer money. It's your money. It's my money. So when you bring this up at the White House roundtable, is this new information to Pam Bondi? Is she surprised by this, or is this something that she may have heard about before?
Look, she may have heard it in passing, but she was surprised because afterwards she personally came up to me, and that I was like, wow, AG Bondi, pleasure to meet you. But she came up to me and said, I want a copy of that research report. We need to find out ultimately who is behind the mask of Antifa. We need to go after the funding. And my colleague sitting next to me, he's doing tremendous research at the Tides Foundation, outing the Antifa funding through the Tides Foundation, Open Societies Foundation, which is George Soros and Arabella. So there's so many nonprofits behind this as well that lean left, philanthropies, a lot of dark money, again, funding Antifa in order to destabilize America, to bring in some type of revolution, quite frankly. And, at the end of the day, the end game, I don't, frankly, to be honest with you, know what the end game is. What are these big money billionaires who are funding Antifa trying to do? Is it globalism they're trying to bring in? Is it a communist revolution they're trying to bring in? I just don't fully get it right now. And that's the one piece I have to admit I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a mix of both, right? And I think that anybody can make the argument on either of those. Now, when you give this report to Bondi and she's looking at it, Does she ask for any action items? Like, what would be the steps, given your expertise, given your firsthand knowledge of this, if you had the full weight of the federal government behind you, what are the first steps you would take to address this head on?
Yeah, what I did advise is immediately to look at, first of all, where is all the federal money going when it comes to the homeless and housing players. So what I would recommend, and I will be recommending, and I'm working on actually a full research report right now, sort of a bullet point synopsis of next steps and recommendations for the feds. And by the way, Kristi Noem came up to me as well, and I gave her a copy of the research report, which was pretty cool that these, high level, Trump administration officials are listening and wanting to take the next action steps. But basically what I would be saying is you have to examine where all the money for housing is going right now through HUD, right? The U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and to start connecting the dots. And again, as a journalist, my job is to report on what's happening on the ground, but then I have researchers on my team who will be sort of, laying out all the finer details on what to do next. But again, we have to start figuring out where all of this homeless money is going, scrutinizing the organizations getting the money. And then here's the key, Chris, we have to start auditing and figuring out where every single dollar has been going all these years. And I have no doubt there is tons of waste and lack of accountability. And in that space of waste and lack of accountability, that's where the Antifa funding, I believe, is going.
I mean, it's truly incredible, though, where we had an administration just 9 months ago that was saying that this is an idea, this isn't a real group, this isn't a real thing, and now you have Kristi Noem and Pam Bondi asking you for your input and your expertise. I mean, it's got to be a bit more hopeful than you've been in a while.
Yeah, and again, I want to thank the Trump administration for being courageous and to take a risk on 12 independent journalists right now, many who have had actually experience in corporate media as well. We've simply switched over because we realize that these topics are so important right now for our country. We have to cover these. We have to start shining a light on what's happening because for years this has gone unchecked. That's how we've gotten to this point. Imagine if we saw the threat early on and did something about it. So finally, at least this administration wants to do that.
So, okay, that leads me to a good question. We're going to have a lot of people here locally in Nashville and in Tennessee that are going, okay, what are those early warning signs? If you were to come into a community, sometimes it's easy like with gangs. Oh, well, you spot the graffiti, right? But if you're looking for a left-wing militant organization that is setting up shop, how do you notice that? What are the red flags? What are the warning signs that they're taking root in your community?
Well, first of all, look for the signs that actually say Antifa, direct action. Those are showing up and pretty obvious in places like Seattle and Portland, despite what, mainstream media says. But the warning signs that I see is when you go out to these protests and their tables recruiting for socialist groups, for communist groups, for the Democratic Socialists of America. I want to be very clear. That is an offshoot of the Democrats, but is more of the far left, progressive, radical left wing. Those are the signs and group names that I would be looking for. Look also online. You're going to see a lot of recruitment on Instagram, on Blue Sky now. That's where all the leftists have gone. And of course, simply flyers. The flyering game is incredible. That's how they're recruiting. I'm seeing in Seattle during any type of protest, like a No Kings protest that will be coming up in the next few days, not only here in Seattle and Portland, but nationally. It's the second one. There's going to be recruitment for these little clubs to get together. Again, a lot of communist socialist clubs. And that's where the Antifa violence planning begins. So look out for those types of signs.
We're talking with Jonathan Cho. He's an amazing journalist. He works with Frontlines and Turning Point USA. He's also a senior journalism fellow at the Discovery Institute. What can the average citizen do to help you guys out? How can the average citizen make a difference in this fight, John?
Look, especially talking to your audience in a place like Tennessee, and then even my industry friends, and in Boston, if these signs are popping up too on college campuses, these are popping up at your local cafe, let us know. Take a picture, grab some video, send it to us, and then of course follow us in our work and keep amplifying it. That's all we can ask at this point, because if more people know and see for their own eyes, then mainstream media, our politicians, our power players in this country, they can't deny what's happening.
Yeah, well, listen, man, we're going to do that for you. We're gonna help amplify these stories. We're going to continue praying for you as well. I think it's important to underscore, and I know that you won't do it for yourself, but the dangerous situations that you put yourself in. You show up at an Antifa protest rally, whatever you want to call it, and they immediately know who you are. They immediately identify you. So we're going to keep praying for your safety, John, and thank you for doing what you're doing, man. It's truly remarkable, your work.
Yeah, and thank you for, again, believing in the work that we're doing, and we're just getting started right now, Chris, so it's really exciting.
Anytime you have a story, anytime you want to come on, you have an open invite here, all right?
All right, thanks, brother.
Hey, appreciate you. Follow Jonathan Cho. He's on X. His reporting is fantastic. At Cho Show, ChoeShow. Give him a follow. It's going to be worth it. Jonathan Cho, fantastic reporter, spending a little bit of time with us here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at Zero Res Nashville. You hear me talk about it all the time. I got 4 kids, 2 dogs, and sometimes the carpets look like a war zone. My wife says it's not that bad, and I always remind her it's not that bad because we call it Zero Res. When the 3-year-old is dancing around with the applesauce pouch and you get the applesauce tornado, it gets a bit messy. We don't stress out anymore, though. We call Zero Res of Nashville. Zero Res comes through, and they clean with their exclusive ZR water. What you're not going to find is harsh chemicals, soap residue, any of that junk. No, they do it completely differently. And you know what happens? The carpets look insanely clean. And you know what else? They stay clean even longer. The kids can roll around on the floor. Dogs can roll around. We don't have to worry about what's in the fibers. It's not just carpets. They do air ducts, tile, rugs, upholstery, the works. You can get any room in your house cleaned for just $45. You're not going to beat this deal. You should take advantage of it today. 615-535-9376. That's 615-535-9376. Or book online, ZeroResNashville.com.
11 o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Drivers, I'm looking at a situation right now in Mount Juliet that might slow you down a little bit. Checking it out over here, some construction work, South Mount Juliet Road between northbound and southbound. That's both northbound and southbound impact there at Central Pike. Got the full forecast coming up in 5 minutes.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Brian Clark. All 20 living Israeli hostages are back in Israel. Parts of the celebration from earlier today. Israel's defense minister, though, says Hamas has returned just 4 coffins, and that represents a failure to meet commitments. President Trump in Egypt now said that Hamas is going to work with Israel to find bodies of those deceased. Addressing the Israeli parliament, the president received a standing ovation, calling today the historic dawn of a new Middle East.
It's an incredible triumph for Israel and the world to have all of these nations working together as partners in peace, and it's a point in time.
Now in Egypt, he is co-chairing a peace summit with President al-Sisi, and they will discuss the next phases with more than 20 world leaders in attendance. This is ABC News.
Right now in Tennessee, 16 people confirmed dead in the Accurate Energetic Systems explosion in McEwen. Authorities have not located any survivors. The recovery efforts transition from search and rescue to identification and cleanup. DNA testing underway to confirm the identities of the victims. As for the cause, Will Nunley, senior national correspondent with Weather Nation TV and resident of Hickman County, telling WTN's Nashville's Morning News with Dan Mandis.
They have to go through it and understand what chemicals may have been on site, what the reaction may have been, what if there was negligence, what may have happened there, or if there was an intentional act, which we don't want to think about. But as they've noted in previous press conferences, all possibilities are on the table with this.
Right now in our nation's capital, the government shutdown is in its 3rd week. House Speaker Mike Johnson says there's nothing he can do about it.
We have to fix healthcare in America, and we have ideas to do it. But we have to have government open and operating to do that. I cannot snap my fingers and go in a back room with Chuck Schumer and say, oh, here's the magic fix for it. It's not how it's going to work.
Yeah, it's in the Senate's court now, which is scheduled to vote again tomorrow on the bill that Speaker Johnson already got passed in the House. And back here in Nashville, a 19-year-old motorcyclist has died after a high-speed crash late last night on I-40 near White Bridge Pike. Police say the rider lost control and was thrown from the motorcycle. He had just received his license on Thursday. No signs of impairment were found. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:06 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. My name is Chris Hand. Thanks again to my friend Jonathan Cho for joining us via video on the YouTube channel and on your radio, talking about Antifa and the homeless industrial complex. Awesome interview. We'll get it podcasted for you on Spotify and Apple, and we'll isolate it on YouTube as well in case you missed it. But it was just a great interview, a sidebar to what has been a truly historic day. It seems like this president never stops working. I'm not sure that this guy has gotten any sleep in the past 48 hours. It's been unbelievable. President Trump currently is in Egypt. It looks like a meet and greet line of world leaders coming to thank him. I mean, everyone from Macron to Giorgia Meloni and everybody in between. It's just been unbelievable to watch this. They are going to have a Gaza summit here momentarily. When that kicks off, we'll be going to cover that live, and we'll carry that right here on 99.7 WTN for you. But it was unbelievable. Everybody coming to see the president. I mentioned Giorgia Meloni. I mentioned Macron from France. You also had the president of the Palestinian Authority, Mahmoud Abbas, excuse me, shaking president's hand, having a bit of a conversation with the president. This day it's something that a lot of people had hoped for, didn't realize that it would ever come. And the reaction that we're getting from both sides of the aisle is appreciation and support from the president, which is stunning. Even leftist media is having a tough time spinning this in any way other than overwhelmingly positive. Moments ago on C-SPAN, I don't know if you ever do C-SPAN. C-SPAN, I think, is actually pretty fun. They still do a call-in show, which is, I mean, we do it here, right? We let you guys interact with the show whenever you want, 615-737-9996. Your opinion, your voice matters just as much as mine or any other host on the station. In fact, I'd argue it matters far more. But they do that kind of a call-in show on C-SPAN. And I got this clip. It's going viral. A Democrat called into C-SPAN, a Democrat from New York. Just listen to this.
Good morning. What'd you think of the speech?
Yes, hi. That was I'm going to get choked up. A momentous speech. And I'm a conservative Democrat living here in New York, where this example of bringing peace to everyone should be thought of in New York City, where out of ignorance, the people are about to elect a guy who's pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas, who's friends with his people in Uganda, a country that lawfully executes people for being gay. And this should be a wake-up call to everyone, that people can live together. I go back. I worked as a young man for Humphrey and for McGovern, and became more conservative as I've gotten older. But this was like the best. You know, he does it in his own style. We actually live pretty close to where he grew up, and you know, New Yorkers like Bernie Sanders are sort of different. They're funny, they're abrasive sometimes, but there should be a lesson to all of us that we can all live together. I think the future, if the Gazans really accept the goodness and the money that's going to come from the Arab community and from the world community, it can be a different world. And I'm sorry for being so emotional, but it's a great moment.
I mean, that's the sentiment that you're getting from a lot of people on the ground. And it's wild. I don't know if conservative Democrat, it sounds a bit of an oxymoron there, but this is a guy that's going to vote blue no matter who. And he's like, this is a wake-up call. A bit more of a wake-up call was Charlemagne on The Breakfast Club. And this is how he reacted this morning on his radio broadcast.
Donald Trump shows me what's politically possible. Trump shows me what presidents can do if they want to do it. Donald Trump shows me what can be said if you are willing to say it. It's not about what can't be done. It's about who has the political will to do it. I don't want to hear a peep from Democrats about nothing until they get the balls to say what's really on their mind in regards to this country and this world. Trump doesn't care if it sounds ridiculous. Trump doesn't care if it makes sense. It's no political correctness whatsoever. As I've been saying for years, the language of politics is dead, and Donald Trump killed it, period.
I mean, if that's not a ringing endorsement from Charlemagne, I don't know what is. And to hear that, it's a bit stunning. What do you think? 615-737-9986. Phone lines are open. We got a few slots open if you want to call in and weigh in. There is some doubt. There is some doubt out there, and we're not going to lie. There are people who say we can't trust Hamas, but I would just lean back on we can trust President Trump. Let's go to Ken on line one. What's up, Ken? How are you doing, man?
Well, thank you for taking my call, first of all. I appreciate what President Trump's doing, but this is not the first time this has happened. Let's hope it holds this time. In 1994, if you recall, there was a peace accord called the Oslo Peace Accord at the time in Tunis. In fact, I was visiting some Palestinians. And that fell apart because the Prime Minister of Israel, his name was Rabin, who signed the peace accord, and Clinton was president, by the way. And I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican either. I'm an independent. I'm very conservative to the right of Attila the Hun, in fact.
Okay.
But anyhow, Rabin was assassinated, and the peace accord fell apart because then Israel, after Rabin was assassinated, they expanded their settlements and started more in the West Bank, which was against the accord, and it sort of fell apart. So let's hope that both sides will hold to their agreement on this one.
I think though with the Oslo Accords versus what we're seeing today, the biggest difference is the only other country really that was in on it was America and Norway in the Oslo Accords.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're exactly right.
And what we're seeing today is Egypt and Saudi Arabia and Qatar and all the Arab nations getting involved, which really does. It really does, though, put a different spin on it and a different spin on it in the region.
I agree.
Do you have faith that this is going to hold?
If nothing happens to Trump and he continues on the same course he's been on since he's been elected, I think it will hold because he has shown the intestinal fortitude to take hold of things, and if something goes awry, he's there to correct it. So, he shows a lot of spirit. In fact, I met one of his hirelings years ago in Greece, and it involved something else, but I won't get into that. But I think if we can elect someone else like him, I'm not sure that Vance is the right person to take his place. He may be, I don't know. But if we can have someone like Trump as president, and he's really true to what he says he is, what he believes, I think it will hold. Yes.
What gives you hesitation on Vance?
Something happens to Trump.
But you said if somebody can pick up the mantle like Trump, I don't know if Vance is that guy. So what would be the hesitation that you have for Vance?
Well, you got to remember who he worked for when he was an attorney, and in the very beginning how anti-Trump he was. I mean, I don't know what made him change his mind, but he did change his mind.
I mean, he's laid that out quite a few times. What changed his mind was seeing the results of the first Trump presidency.
Yeah, it appears that way, and I hope it's true. I mean, I certainly will. You're probably the only Republican I'll vote for. I certainly won't vote for the Democrats, but if he's the only choice for the Republican president, and I don't know anybody that could take it. Would be better than him right now? I mean,
I'm with you, Ken, and I appreciate the call. 615-737-9986. At this point, I mean, unless something catastrophic was to happen, a monumental failure for the Trump administration, a la an Afghanistan type withdrawal or the economy crumbling like it did under Biden, I don't know how you can stand against Vance. Vance was full court all weekend long. He was on Fox, he was on ABC, he was on NBC, he was on CBS, all the Sunday shows yesterday, and he said a lot of good things. He was really, I mean, he was going out and he was going hard about the government shutdown. But when it came to the peace deal, that we're seeing, Vance was front and center. And I think that Vance just speaks so eloquently. And in a way that even Trump, he ruffles some feathers when he talks. Vance, I think he's a calming presence. And, when you hear him talk about the president yesterday, when you hear him talk about what he's been able to accomplish, it's hard to see anybody else stepping in and filling the shoes of the president. This was Vance yesterday on Meet the Press.
The reason why we are at this moment, Kristen, is because the president of the United States, he gave unusual authorities to people who had never been in diplomacy before. He actually broke the mold. Instead of doing diplomacy the same old way that it had failed for the past 30 or 40 years, he gave Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner a remarkable amount of authority to go and get a peace deal done. And he worked hard on everybody, from the Israelis to the Gulf Arab states, to make this happen. This was very hard. This was a long time coming. It required a lot of work. But yes, I believe that we are on the cusp of peace in Gaza for the first time, not just in a couple of years, but really in a very long time, because the President of the United States has done something that no other world leader has been able to do: unite the Israelis with the Gulf Arab states for a common objective, and that is to bring the hostages home, to stop the war, and to build the kind of long-term settlement that we really do believe can lead to a lasting peace.
Again, and this is different from what our last caller, Ken, was saying in 94 with the Oslo Accords. With the Oslo Accords, it was Norway and America trying to negotiate peace between Israel and Palestine. What we're seeing today is Saudi Arabia in the fold. We're seeing Qatar in the fold. We're seeing Egypt in the fold. It's much different than what we saw in 94. At least that's my opinion. Jeremy on line one wants to talk about J.D. Vance. What's up, Jeremy?
Hey, buddy. You doing all right today, Chris?
Yeah, man. How are you?
Hey, doing good. Hey, so like the last caller, I would definitely vote for Vance over, obviously over a Democrat, but a number of things that just don't sit well with me. I just don't trust the guy. All the name changes he's had. And then what was it? You might tell me, but the chemical company or the bio company that he helped start or was real invested in, and it was having to do with vaccines, wasn't it? Some kind of bio company, Chris?
I think you might be confusing him with Vivek right there. But I'd have to do a bit of research. What do you mean on the name changes?
Well, he's had so many name changes. You can Google how many name changes the guy's had. He's changed his name a couple times, but then it was him. You can look it up.
No, you're right. You're right. Yeah, he did invest. He invested in a bio company. You were right about that.
Okay, but yeah, I don't trust the guy. Whatever sets well, I hope we get somebody else good to run. But if it's him over a Democrat, I'll still vote for him.
No, I'm with you. On his name changes, you're also right about that. I do believe that one of the reasons that he changed his name was that he was adopted by his new stepfather, so he changed his name there. And then one time he changed his name because he didn't have a relationship with his original father. It doesn't seem too far off base. It just seems like something that you're doing when you're young and you don't really know what's going on.
Well, the bio company concerns me more than the name change, but so many name changes did kind of add to it. But anyways, Chris, I appreciate it, buddy. Hope you have a blessed day.
Hey, man, you too. 615-737-9986 if you want to join the conversation. 615-737-9986. All right, so Donald Trump is speaking. World leaders are gathered in Egypt. We got leaders of UK, France, Germany, Italy, Spain, Turkey, Egypt. They're all joining President Trump. We're going to jump into that press conference when we get back. It's 11:20 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, what's up? It's Chris Hand here for my friends at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. And if you're tired of back pain, neck pain, knee pain ruining your life, well, listen up, because this deal could change everything for you, and it's not going to break the bank. The Wellness Institute of Nashville is still running their Big Daddy Trump special. It's just $12, and it gets you a full exam, x-rays if needed, a well-explained diagnosis, and your first treatment. That's right. You're getting all that for only $12. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, they're not going to give up on you. They're not going to give up on getting you back to a pain-free life. And they've heard it from so many patients before. They're always like, why didn't I come here first? But please don't say that to them. Go there first. They offer a range of options. What you're not going to find is surgery, painful injections, or opioids. That's not their style. They're going to focus on non-surgical spinal decompression, robot lasers, and even anti-gravity machines. It's time for you to grab your MRI and get ready to finally understand your condition and fix it for good. Give the Wellness Institute of Nashville a call today. You're not going to be disappointed. 615-246-5009. 615-246-5009. I'm Chris Hand, and the Wellness Institute of Nashville has my seal of approval on this deal that could change your life. Find them online, painisbad.com.
For many of us, generators are becoming a must-have household appliance. From unpredictable weather to surprise outages, it's better to be safe than sorry. Generator Supercenter of Nashville offers fast and easy installations with 24/7 service and monitoring to all brands of generators and expert repairs done right. Our mission is to make owning a backup generator simple and easy. Visit your local store today or check us out online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
All right, drivers, we've got a crash in Dixon. It's going to be 40 westbound right before the Centerville-Dixon, Tennessee 46 exit 172. It's stop-and-go traffic starting at exit 176. And in Mount Juliet, still got construction work on South Mount Juliet Road. Both northbound and southbound impacted there at Central Pike. Latest developments in the Gaza ceasefire coming up at 11:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
That's Ken Weaver in the newsroom. My name is Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC. Water filtration systems, water softeners. You get those at betterwater.com. So currently, President Trump is sitting down with world leaders, and we have a live summit in the Middle East. This is in Egypt, where they are, I mean, he's surrounded, flanked by world leaders, and we're going to join that live momentarily. This is President Trump live.
Okay, thank you. You can use my pen if you want. Have a pen? Want to use mine? Okay. Okay.
So I believe they're signing the peace deals right now, is what we have. They're signing the Gaza peace deal. President Trump, along with the Palestinian Authority president. If you're watching on the stream, you'll notice behind him all sorts of world leaders. I see Giorgia Meloni. I see Macron from France. I saw Carney from Canada. It's really a who's who of world leaders behind the president. And this is just... It's a historic moment that we're witnessing, and we get to witness this together. If you're watching us on YouTube, you'll be able to see all the video in conjunction with the audio that you're hearing. Not much audio right now other than pens scribbling, but huge table. Peace 2025 in front. Says peace in the Middle East on the backdrop behind them. And you have Erdogan is signing, the Turkish president, President Trump, Mahmoud Abbas of the Palestinian Authority, I believe, is there. And I believe that's a representative from, is that Saudi Arabia? I believe so. And with that, we get the final signature from Erdogan. But President Trump, all smiles from ear to ear. All the world leaders behind him. There's been a bit of a kerfuffle in Britain over British leaders trying to take credit for the peace deal, where their conservative members saying, you guys have done nothing to help this. And Keir Starmer's cabinet trying to take some credit for this deal as well. I don't see Keir Starmer back there, but he may be just out of the line of sight. Holding up the signed peace deal. 11:28 Central Time. The peace deal has been signed.
So we're going to go, and I'm going to say a few words. We'll give you a little speech, and then we're going to meet with the leaders after that and spend a little time together without the media. The media is invited to the speech. I just want to tell you the people behind me and some of the people in the room that are so helpful, but the people behind me are the greatest leaders, most powerful leaders, the richest leaders, frankly. Sometimes it's not politically correct to say that, but I'll say it, the richest in the world that the world has ever seen. And yet when you get to know them, I know every one of them in their own way, and I can say in particular some, because that's the way life works, but some of the greatest people you'll ever meet, and people that really care for their countries. And why this happened is they all came together and they wanted to get Gaza straightened out. They wanted to get the whole thing straightened out. It got to a point where it was just crazy. And once they got together and once we started talking, it went really, Tamim, it went smoothly. It went so smoothly. You were such a big help, but it went so smoothly that nobody can even believe it, that we're sitting here and getting this all certified out and all done, and everybody's happy about it. Everybody's happy about it, like I've never seen before, actually. I've done other deals, and people don't care as much. Big deals, I think they're big deals, but this is something that's taken off like a rocket ship. And it did from the beginning, and I've heard for years, this is the biggest deal, it'll never happen. For years, long before I ran for office, that this is the Middle East. It's the biggest, most complicated deal. And also it's the place that could lead to tremendous problems like World War III. They always talked about World War III would start in the Middle East. And that's not going to happen. We don't want it to start anywhere, actually, but it's not going to happen. So I just want to thank everybody, and I'll see you in a little while. And in particular, thank you all. Thank you, Tamim. Mr. General, thank you.
So that's President Trump. The peace deal is officially signed, hailing the ceasefire, claiming a new dawn in the Middle East. They said it wasn't possible. They said Donald Trump would start World War III, but yet here we are, just honestly taking in the moment. And it is a moment. It's truly unbelievable what we're witnessing. God is so good, and I do believe he's in the details. It's 11:30. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast and traffic coming up in 5 minutes. And as you just heard, President Trump has officially signed the Gaza ceasefire, a significant shift toward ending the 2-year war between Israel and Hamas. With that U.S. brokered agreement, 20 living Israeli hostages were released by Hamas and reunited with their families today. The remains of 28 deceased hostages are also part of the deal, but only 4 bodies have been returned so far. That's prompting accusations from Israel that Hamas is violating the agreement. However, the ceasefire is holding for now. And as you just heard, President Trump just officially signed it with numerous world leaders looking on, sitting beside him. Right now in Tennessee, 16 people have been confirmed dead in the Accurate Energetic Systems explosion in McEwen. The cause still under investigation. Here's Will Nunley, senior national correspondent with Weather Nation TV, resident of Hickman County, who tells WTN's Nashville's Morning News investigators may use nearby cameras to help identify the cause.
So the only hope I would think would be external cameras on another building that may have been pointing that direction to see something. But I will note that when this happened, it destroyed electricity for the area. I mean, the electric company had to come out and repair transformers, repair lines to neighborhoods.
Authorities have not located any survivors. The recovery efforts transition from search and rescue to identification and cleanup. DNA testing underway to confirm the victims, the identities, that is, of the victims. And back here in Nashville, a Madison man behind bars after police say he shot and killed his pregnant teenage girlfriend, 20-year-old Amari Ramey, charged with 2 counts of criminal homicide in the death of 17-year-old Amia Finney. The shooting happened yesterday morning during a domestic dispute on Bixler Avenue. Finney was 2 months pregnant. Ramey turned himself in later and is being held on a $1 million bond. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
It's 11:37 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Hey, how are you? It's Chris Hand. The show is brought to you by Better Water LLC, water filtration systems, water softeners. You get those at betterwater.com. Unbelievable day. Historic, to say the least. Something I didn't think I'd ever see in my lifetime. I don't know if you ever thought you'd see it in yours. Trump, world leaders signing a Gaza ceasefire deal. Trump has already said we're on to phase two. We're on to phase two. I'm just going to pray that this continues. I'm going to pray that the energy that we're feeling today carries through. And I'm going to pray that this peace deal is everlasting. With that being said, it is time for the lightning round.
It's the lightning round with Chris Hand.
We do it every day at this time. All the stories that we didn't have a chance to get to, which turns out to be a lot today because we've been focusing a lot on Israel and Gaza and the ceasefire deal. But we cover all the stories that wouldn't fill a whole segment, stories that we didn't get a chance to talk about, and anything that you want to talk about, 615-737-9986, 615-737-9986. All right, first story up in the lightning round. It is the explosion at Accurate Energetic Systems. Massive blast. Happened on Friday. I was out sick. Joan Jones, Dan Mandis did an unbelievable job covering that. It was just a wild story, and we're praying that the families are wrapped in comfort as they deal with the loss. Unbelievable loss. It's led to a lot of speculation on the internet, as these things tend to. And I've seen some theories that just don't seem to go away. And I figured, why not address them? Why not address them? So that's what we're doing for the first story in the lightning round. Was it DEI? Was it DEI? Well, did woke policies lead to the catastrophic explosion? Maybe. Was it Russian sabotage? That's a popular theory online, that they were making Ukrainian munitions there, and that's why it was sabotaged. I don't know if either are the cause, but I did some digging on both. And I thought that we would bring it to you in the lightning round. Up first, Russia. So based on all the currently public available records, past contract patterns, and how the U.S. munitions supply chains operate, there you could gauge a 60 to 70% chance probability that AES was making explosives or components that indirectly ended up in munitions sent to Ukraine. But less than 5% that AES ever directly sold or exported anything to Ukraine directly. Here's why an indirect link is likely. AES supplies core energetic materials, TNT, boosters, demolition charges, detonation systems used in 155 millimeter artillery rounds and similar U.S. standard munitions. Those are the types of munitions that the U.S. has been mass producing to replenish the stockpiles in inventory, older inventory in Ukraine. The DoD buys those materials centrally through the U.S. Army and Navy, which then distribute finished munitions across multiple facilities and depots. Once TNT or similar components enter that system, they're then indistinguishable by supplier when final rounds are assembled. But the U.S. has shipped millions of those to Ukraine. If AES produced some of that TNT that went into the domestic shell manufacturing or replenishment, statistically, some portion of that would go to Russia. But direct sale, unlikely. Just unlikely. I mean, in short, if you were to break it down, AES very likely contributed to materials that ended up in shells or charges used by the U.S. or its allies, including Ukraine. But there's no evidence currently that AES shipped anything directly or was even told where their material ended up. And then even if you could make that case, which would take time and FOIA requests, then you'd have to then build another case that Russia sabotaged it. So I don't know. But that's the digging I did. Was it DEI or woke policies? It's another popular theory online. Well, possibly. And I think it's important to point out that there was an explosion at that facility back in 2014, though it wasn't directly AES. But Accurate Energetic Systems has publicly stated that its commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion in the workplace. Their career pages on their website emphasizes values such as trustworthiness, ethics, honesty, transparency, respect, valuing diversity. The company also highlights fostering safe and inclusive environments in the workplace. You can find that online. It's on their website. That wasn't really much of a dig. Additionally, it's important to add that AES is certified as a woman-owned small business by the U.S. Small Business Administration and as a women's business enterprise by the Women's Business Enterprise National Council. These certifications reflect the company's dedication to supporting women in business and promoting diversity in its operations. Now, to be fair, it doesn't really mean anything, like, at all. I mean, any smart businessman can put the company in his wife's name or his daughter's name, and then congrats, you have a woman's own small business. But I thought it was interesting. One of the things that I did want to dig in was, like, do you have hiring quotas? Because we've seen that all over the place, right? Like, when the Palisades fire broke out in Los Angeles, we remember the 30 for 30 rule, right? They wanted 30% of their workforce to be female by 2030. So that was something that I was interested in. Did you have quotas? As of right now, there's no information that says that they had any quotas. Okay, no records of that. There's also no records of AES being involved in any legal disputes related to DEI issues such as discrimination, lawsuits, or complaints. The absence of the information makes it hard to make the case. But these are the theories online. Currently, the investigation's ongoing. I don't know where that investigation is going to lead. We're obviously going to be staying on top of this story here at Super Talk. And we'll bring you new information as it becomes available. But I did want to address two of the popular theories. I don't know if either of them hold any weight currently, but this is what people are saying online, and we want to bring that online conversation to you. Got another story for you here in the lightning round. We've been talking a lot about Donald Trump today and how amazing what we're seeing is in Israel and in Gaza in the peace deal. But I think it's also important to call him out on some certain things. And this leads us to our next story. Trump got his booster shot. Yep, you heard me right. Donald J. Trump. He posted a memorandum on the 10th. And this is from Caroline Levitt. And it says, President Donald J. Trump completes comprehensive follow-up evaluation at Walter Reed National Military Medical Center. Nothing of note, really, in the follow-up, except for one point, which was in preparation for upcoming international travel, President Trump also received preventative health screenings and immunizations, including his annual influenza and his updated COVID-19 booster vaccinations. Okay. Now, I think it's important to point out that this just really underscores we're not a cult here in MAGA, because I'm not rushing out to get any kind of booster. I don't know how I could boost it when I haven't gotten the vaccine in the first place, but I digress. I don't see any members of MAGA, I did air quotes. If you're watching us on the stream, you saw the air quotes, rushing out to get boosters because the president got boosted. I think it's a bit insane. President Trump is free to make his own decisions. That's fair. You're free to make your own decisions as well. Talk to a doctor. I'm not one. But it caused a bit of an uproar online. And I can understand why. People are upset. And here's the reason. Trump saying he got another booster, it really shows the generational gap. He's a boomer. And I don't think that he sees vaccines in the same light that some of the younger members of the conservative movement see them. I'm not blaming him. I'm not. But it's frustrating. And I think that the reason that people are really upset about this is because it leads one to believe Anthony Fauci's just untouchable. I mean, justice still hasn't shown up for Anthony Fauci. You can absolutely make the argument that people were hurt by those vaccinations. And when President Trump, in an official memorandum, says that he got his booster, it means that justice is not coming for any of these individuals. And that's frustrating. It's absolutely frustrating. Again, he's a grown man. He's allowed to make his own decisions. You are allowed to make your own decisions. Talk to a doctor. I'm not one. I did my own risk-reward analysis, and I decided against it. It's up to you if it's right for you or not. Okay? I think that should be perfectly clear. But people were hurt by these things. People were lied to. People lost their jobs. And we wanted some accountability. And it looks like that accountability is not coming. Got another story for you here in the lightning round. Speaking of Fauci, he popped up in a PBS interview, which I was like, man, I thought they were defunded, but yet here we are. Fauci in a recent PBS interview. You ready? You ready for this? Let's get ready for this. And hang on one second. I got too much audio running at the same time. Let me close that out. This is Anthony Fauci in a recent PBS interview.
And then there's the transformative, if I might use that word, experience that we've all had now in year 5 of COVID. So the thought that we won't have another pandemic, I think, is naive at best and just not completely unrealistic at worst. So to rephrase your question, I'm convinced that there will be another pandemic, and that's the reason why we have to be perpetually prepared to prevent the terrible impact of a pandemic.
Nice. Granted, you could make the case that we're in a better spot now than we were before because of guys like RFK Jr., Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, Dr. Marty McCary. I mean, you can make the case, but to hear this lunatic out there still saying things like this, it's like, come on, man, what are we doing? What are we doing? Got another story for you here in the lightning round. Mark Kelly did some interviews over the weekend. Senator Mark Kelly out of Arizona. He's a Democrat. And he had this to say about one Kamala Harris.
Do you think that Kamala Harris would be a strong candidate in 2028?
Candidate? Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, she was the nominee last time. I think
you would encourage her to run.
I think she would be incredibly strong.
Incredibly strong. Kamala would be an incredibly strong candidate. I don't know if she's been sober since her 107-day presidential run. Every time I see her, she's just acting a fool. And for him to say she'd be incredible. She'd be incredible. I think it just shows the ignorance of the Democrat Party. I mean, what have we witnessed today? We witnessed an unprecedented, historic peace deal. And
higher career and
Kamala Harris on the debate stage said that Donald Trump didn't know anything about foreign policy.
Entire career and life supported Israel and the Israeli people. He knows that. He's trying to, again, divide and distract from the reality, which is it is very well known that Donald Trump is weak and wrong on national security and foreign policy.
Oh, is that so? It should be an incredibly strong candidate for 2028. I actually don't want any of my criticisms to get back to Mark Kelly or anyone in the Democrat Party. I don't want to interrupt our enemies while they're making a mistake. I think she would be the best choice for the job. That does it for the lightning round. It is 11:51. This is Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Latest on the Gaza ceasefire, which President Trump has just signed, and other top stories at noon on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
11:57 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand in studio with Chad Benson. We were just talking about how
Tony Blair, the great Tony Blair, is going to be leading Palestine.
Yeah, I doubt it. They've all been trying to get credit for that.
Everybody has.
Was it Tony Blair? Or was it David Cameron that had sex with the dead pig in college?
I think it was Cameron, but I'm not quite sure. I'm not up to date on my Brits making love to pigs.
Wasn't it? It was like they were in some weird fraternity.
It was like a fraternity prank thing. Yeah, I don't. Again,
it's just a prank.
It's
bro.
just a prank.
It's nasty.
Don't taste me, bro. Don't make me make love to a pig, bro.
All right, just an assessment, quick assessment on what you're seeing from the day.
Awesome. Just you know what? This is one of the few times where you sit back and right or left, you have to stand up and applaud what was done. One dude could have got this over the line because one guy had the cojones enough as a president to look and say, nope, we're done. This is getting done. This is the way it's going to work. This is not a suggestion. This is a do it.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it.
And he held feet to the fire on both sides.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been truly unbelievable. It's hard to wrap your head around what you're seeing as the peace summit is taking place in Egypt right now. I mean, he's flanked by just about every leader in the free world.
Oh, it's amazing. And you know what? I will criticize Trump when there needs to be, but this right here, he'll be remembered domestically. I've always said this, for the change he made in the courts. This will be maybe globally his biggest achievement.
And they didn't give him the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, but you have to nominate by a certain time. She dedicated it to him.
8 wars in 8 months.
She dedicated it to him.
Who won it?
Maria, I don't know, Conchita Alonso or somebody. I forgot her name. I think her name was Maria, though.
Okay.
She was Venezuelan. She's the opposition party, and she dedicated it to him, saying, no, he's part of the resistance. He's part of what we are here. So she did say, I dedicate it to Trump.
I mean, it's just unbelievable what we're witnessing. Nobody said that this could be done.
Yeah. Yeah, and it ain't going to be easy, and there's going to be, slips and falls. And by the way, Israel, there's lots of people in Israel, especially among in the Likud party, that do not want any of this, but they had no choice.
Nope.
No choice. And he is not beloved, old Bibi, right now.
No, I mean, I saw the rally with Witkoff when he brought up, I mean, there's like thousands of Israelis out there, and they're celebrating the release of the hostages. And he said, let's thank Benjamin Netanyahu. And the crowd boos.
And Witkoff didn't really. He's like, oh, okay. So
Witkoff was like kind of taken aback.
Don't mention that guy again.
And then he brought up Trump, and the crowd lost their mind cheering.
That's it. There's more American flags there today than Israeli flags in a lot of places. I was watching. It was crazy.
It's an unbelievable story. Chad Benson's in next. He'll be bringing you all the latest on the peace deal and more. Trump talking now on the Gaza ceasefire. Oh, there's Keir Starmer. You think he did anything with a pig in college?
No, I don't. I do not think so. There's Maloney. Yeah, no, I don't think so. I think Keir was just rather boring. Still is.
Still is. Chad's in next. It's Super Talk 99.